Ba-da-ba-da. It's spooky time. It's spooky time when I realize how to put the camera back on. Hey, everybody. We got this fly in here. It's driving us crazy.
Mavis has been trying to catch it for hours, too.
She gave up for now. But welcome to episode 2 of APOCALYPSE, the American Horror Story Apocalypse recap show. Real quick, hello to Sam and Cal in the chat. And a real quick thank you to our patron producers, Raul Rodriguez,
Raul.
Billy, and David Bowman.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Good guys.
All right, so we discussed the last 2 episodes for our show 2 weeks ago, and they were a good start, but certainly we're now getting into more the meat of the show with episodes 3 and 4. And at this point, I'm very glad that we're doing every 2 weeks, because episode 3 was a little strange and it left us on a cliffhanger, and I was really glad to have episode 4 to talk about as well this time.
Yeah, for real.
So before we get into it, what did you think of these two as a pair?
I'm glad they were together because I wasn't a huge fan of 3, but 4 kind of brought it back. Especially, yeah, well, we'll get there. But...
yeah, I think 4 was my favorite episode so far of this season, which is funny because it's really like a simple plot line that they stuck to through this episode. When I was taking notes, I realized how straightforward it was compared to all the other episodes so far. But I think that was to the benefit of the show.
Oh, for sure.
It felt really focused, that one.
Yeah, and we'll get there, yeah. But it explored familiar ground, so it was a lot more fulfilling.
Yes, so on that note, let's get into episode 3. It was called Forbidden Fruit, aptly named. So we start out with Mallory and Langdon, and they kind of are having a showdown where it's revealed, or it appears to be, that Mallory is a witch of some sort, because he kind of responds to her in a different way than he had any of the other characters. He kind of sensed some power with her, and he got this face where he looked like a demon or something. He responded in this. What did you think of this?
It was a little Voldemort-y, but I thought it was interesting. This is maybe his true face.
And she seems to be like a pyromancer of sorts. Like maybe that's part of her power set. Or the fire responded to her in some way.
Yeah, we know that from the American Horror Story lore that fire manipulation is a big witch thing. So this kind of confirms that idea.
So yeah, what do you think of this scene overall? It was like the action scene to start out the episode.
Well, I definitely thought it was intense, especially because of the way the camera was worked. And they layered it, so he wasn't just talking to Mallory. He was talking to everybody, and he was kind of doing the same spiel, like, tell me your darkness, like blah blah blah. And it was that tension that finally got brought up to her and then broke was really cool.
And I thought it was cinematic for American Horror Story. They don't usually do stuff that's this like showy, you know what I'm saying? And did you have something you wanted to talk about the next part, or?
Oh, I just assumed we're gonna bring this up. Are we?
No.
Oh, I have little bullet point pictures here. We won't necessarily talk about all of them. I just so he's trying to figure out what the hell's up with her, because he thought he killed all the witches. He says that aloud. And he's doing this cool little like ritual. Oh, I don't have the overhead of it, but it's a cool little ritual where he cuts himself a bunch of times and does like a sigil on the floor and snakes roll out. We're jumping ahead here with the robot. Are we talking about that?
That's exactly
cool.
Okay. So I'm going to start out with saying that we see a conversation between Venable and Mead, that she was informed that she wasn't selected to be chosen to move forward.
Yeah.
And so they decide to start conspiring to kill everybody. So I guess their line of thought is kind of like, well, if everybody's dead, they need some sort of people, so then we'll get through.
Yeah.
We also find out that Brock, played by Billy Eichner, is alive, which I know you are excited about. Do you want to talk about him?
So, yeah. Do we have her Halloween on here? Because we found out what's her face's fake backstory. But
yeah, I was.
But
Gonna talk
there's
about
Billy
that.
Eichner. He's like, hey, wait, chill out. I got radioactive poisoning. Joe would like this aspect of the show.
Yeah, because it went
like
kind of like
Mad
Mad Max apocalyptic, which is good because obviously the theme of the show is post-apocalypse, and this is when you really felt that on the show. And he's a fan favorite. He's clearly a favorite of ours, so we were glad that he wasn't just like gone in the first episode. This was like a delightful surprise. He actually decides he's like trying to find the outpost, and he sees a carriage that's there, and we find out that the carriage is there delivering apples. And he like hops a ride underneath the carriage and gets to the outpost that way, which is pretty really fascinating. Cool. And then he disappears for a while, but we'll be back. The apples get there, and Venable plans to poison the apples and kill everybody at the same time. So her plan is basically she's going to have them bob for apples, and then she's going to give the signal they're all going to eat them. And that's the way they're all going to go out at the same time. Because obviously, if one person bites the apple and has some sort of reaction, then it's going to ruin her surprise. So she tells everybody that we're going to go ahead and have a masquerade ball because it's Halloween. I'm not even sure if this is necessarily true because they've really lost.
Oh, that's interesting.
They've lost track of time at this point. I think she might be manipulating them into thinking that because they were kind of like, oh, is it Halloween already? Who knows?
Yeah. And it's an interesting misdirect because they showed us what's her face's Halloweens in the beginning to suggest that.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't have that written down as happening that early.
It's how the episode
but I'll get
opens.
to that stuff.
Okay.
So they throw the ball. We see everybody putting together costumes. Coco's obviously fancy, and she has her hairdresser there, so she gets this crazy like Eiffel Tower type do and like a Marie Antoinette get up. And really, they do remarkably well putting costumes together from just the stuff that they have there.
I really liked. Actually, I have the lead, the young perfect lead. I like that strip across the eye and the crown. That's a really cool imagery. That looks like something out of like Hotel.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, like the Venetian style mask on your guy there. And Langdon declines the invitation to go to the party, but we see somebody there who is dressed up in a disguise, and Coco thinks that it's Langdon there trying to seduce her. So she pulls him into a private room, and it actually ends up being Brock in disguise, and she says like some really salacious things to him. And then it's revealed that it's him, and he goes kind of off the rails and stabs her like in the head, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Then we start the bobbing for apples game. And it pretty much goes to plan. They're all getting the apples. They're really excited to eat them. They eat them all at once. And the poison hits them, and it's pretty horrible. Like, it's monstrous.
In fact, I'm gonna give you guys a warning. We're gonna show you one picture from it, and if you're squeamish, just look away. I'm squeamish, so to give you an idea.
So, like, literally, they were, like, vomiting on each other's faces and, like, foam and blood coming from the mouth. And it's really horrific. And honestly, to have this happen in the third episode, we're like, what the hell is going on? How are they going to get out of this?
Because American Horror Story has a reputation for killing off the entire cast at once. Usually it's at the end.
Particularly with Freak Show.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the most guilty offender. But even Murder House is guilty of that.
So after that, Venable and Mead, who are feeling pretty like good about themselves at this point, go ahead and try to confront Langdon. And they say that they're going to be making the choices from now on. And he kind of pulls this cool power move where he tells Mead to shoot Venable, and she does. And I think that's one of the more shocking moments of the episode. But then it's kind of revealed that she's based on his childhood caregiver, and it lines up with the stuff that Tom was talking about earlier, if you wanted to go into that a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much she goes over like, oh, I loved Halloween. And again, this was a cool misdirect because if she was lying about Halloween, that's really interesting. I didn't even think about her lying. So she she was Rosie the Robot, which is kind of a nice nod to the fact that she is a robot. And then there's
that's
another.
Cute. I didn't even think about that. That's cute.
There's another where she's like, oh, and then I went on a horror movie on the first date. I didn't pick pictures because it's just a dude groping her, but she slaps him, and that was her second Halloween. And the third Halloween, you find out she's like an assassin, working for the government, and this is like it's on Halloween, and she ends up killing the dude and answers the door in blood.
Yeah, and I liked it because it was kind of sloppy.
Yeah,
like it didn't go super smoothly for her.
Cool fight scene.
Yeah. And then she answers the door, and of course, because it's Halloween, people just like assume that that's her costume. And I thought that whole way it was filmed is really good. That they've been kind of on point with their direction this season. They have like a lot of different directors. I know there's an episode with Sarah Paulson directing coming up,
and I'm excited.
It's been really good choices so far, and I'm pretty happy with this season. At this point, the internet explodes because Cordelia, Madison, and Myrtle from Coven show up, and they say they're going to bring their sisters back to life, and Mallory, Dinah, and Coco are raised again from death. And me and Tom are kind of like, our minds are blown because we fully expected the two perfect genetic people to be the ones who definitely were coming back.
For sure.
And it was the ladies. They brought back all the ladies, and I'm glad because obviously we need her storyline. Mallory.
That's interesting. Sam makes a good point up in the chat, and thank you for. And real quick, a verbal hello, Nichelle. Welcome back. It's been a while. Anyway, he says that the date movie was probably was Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
Especially because it's Lent.
Yeah, thematically.
Exactly.
Perfectly.
Okay. My question to you. So, guessing, did they just get... Well, no, because they show Myrtle alive in episode 4. This is weird. Why is Myrtle here?
Yeah, it's a little surprising because these are not the witches that I thought we would be getting based on the end of Coven.
We know both of them are dead at that point.
We would see Zoe. We thought we would see definitely not Madison and definitely not Myrtle.
Yeah.
So it is surprising.
I don't know what's up. Madison, we find out next episode what happened. What did you think about the end note of the episode?
The surprise bitch was corny for me. It felt a little shoehorned in there.
Yeah, I feel like that's what made it feel even worse of an episode because like it finished on like
that
a
was
catchphrase. You know what I mean? They could have done something a lot more interesting at the end and probably won me over.
Like the first surprise bitch was great, but I don't think we needed it again. The only purpose it really had was to hint that they know each other.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that. So overall, what did you think of this episode?
Weak. It was the worst episode of the season.
It was. I think on a binge watch, it wouldn't be that bad.
No.
But to wait a week for this episode, it was a bit of a disappointment. I feel like the big takeaway is that the Coven witches are back and that they saved that for like the last moment. And it was kind of like, we knew the Coven witches were going to be back. What else you got?
Well, I'll tell you what else they got because
episode
4 was really good. I don't know where your notes start. So is this good or?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Episode 4 is called Could It Be ... Satan ? Satan? We go back to 3 years before the stuff that we're seeing now, which it kind of shows you how quick his rise to power is. Because he seems like a very young for Michael here, and we both liked the haircut that he's got here because it definitely seems like a shout out to his father character, Tate.
Yes. It definitely feels like a Tate haircut. And like they did a great job either making him look older in the future or making him look younger here because he's got like his features are definitely like softer here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He
looks
definitely
so angular in the...
And we see like a little bit of his life with his former caregiver here, who we know is basically Mead in our timeline. And pretty quickly he gets in trouble we hear about him murdering a man who insulted...
I got that whole thing here.
Yeah, who insulted the woman that Mead is based on. Tom's got pictures. Give us.
So she's trying to get like a head of a goat for
a ritual.
Because she's like fully
openly satanic.
Yeah, so it's great for him. The dude says some stuff. He gets mad, and then he gets knives. I didn't even see the hatchet in the crotch.
Nice.
So he was mad.
And he gets arrested, which draws the attention of a warlock school called the Hawthorne Academy. They're interested in him because he seems to have a level of talent that they haven't seen before, and there's some speculation that he might be what they call the Alpha, which is basically the supreme of warlocks, but warlocks have never had a supreme. It's just kind of lore of theirs that they might get one day, because they said something along the lines of testosterone in their system keeps them from being connected to like the magical realm as much as the females are. The females are much more powerful witches.
It's an interesting power dynamic change. I just want to point out he killed 2 guys. There's the guy who was trying to interview him at the police station too.
He's got like almost like a, I don't want to say Kylo Ren, but that kind of vibe where he's like super powerful, but his powers aren't really being controlled right now.
I mean, that's a Kylo Ren like tank top.
Kylo Ren vibes. So he gets approached in jail by this warlock who kind of explains like, hey, this is why you're different, because you're magical.
Oh, wizard head.
Yeah, he releases him, and as they're escaping, I don't even know if the other warlock guy notices this.
No,
but
he doesn't.
He decides to kill one of the guards just to be kind of vindictive.
I have a theory, and it's with this next picture that kind of brings it together.
Okay.
She's just waiting outside for him, and this felt very much like The Omen or something like that. I did it for you. Like, she's just like, blah, blah.
She's so proud.
Look
at her.
Did they plan this?
I don't know.
Because he's playing them the entire time. He's pretending like he doesn't know what's up. And he's obviously more powerful. He knows about more stuff than he's letting on. But like, this seems like it was planned, because why else would she be waiting and not be worried about him going into the car with the warlocks?
It's hard to say, because they both, like, she does rituals and stuff, and he's got powers, so it makes it really difficult. And he brings him down to the Hawthorne Academy, and the location's looking very familiar to us because it's exactly where we've been this whole time.
And what's interesting is this gives us more of a scope on the setting. You find out that the Hawthorne Academy was above ground until the Covenant witches went public, and then they got some Molotov cocktails through the windows, and it burned down, so they just built below it.
And I believe they said that what we see above ground is just the sculpture that was in the garden.
Yes.
And that's all you can see. So they were kind of literally like run underground into hiding again. So skipping through, he's pretty well accepted at the school, and they decide to run him pretty quickly. I think it's only a couple months he's there, to put him through what is essentially the male version of the 7 Wonders. And some of them were quite similar to the female versions, but others were very different.
You talk about the mirror one? Yeah,
there was just some different stuff, and they weren't called the same thing as the 7 Wonders.
Well, I think these were like tests to get him ready for the 7 Wonders, because he asks them for permission to do the 7 Wonders. But like, this one was one of the 7 Wonders, the one where you just bounce around.
Yeah, he's doing the 7 Wonders for sure, but like the snowing and stuff was really, it was different than what we saw with the female witches, and
things got out of control.
Yeah, like they think that he's not going to be able to do it, and then he like does it too much, and we see that he's not the best at kind of like reining it in. And again, coming from that, he's essentially untrained, just unchained
he's raw
power.
Talent,
yeah. And so he kicks ass at these 7 Wonders, almost too much. And the warlocks contact the witches at the Miss Robichaux Academy, and they tell them to come through for a meeting. They don't really tell them what the meeting is about, but when they get there, they explain what's going on and how they think they've found a potential alpha, and they're kind of laughed at by the ladies. What do you think?
Again, I want to bring up, it's an interesting power dynamic shift. I kind of like it a lot, especially in the last couple of weeks. It's really kind of refreshing. I thought it was really good.
They were basically just like, you guys simply aren't as powerful
you're not
as us.
capable.
It's just that's how it is. It's always been this way, which is again kind of a statement like Tom is talking about. With just the status quo, and they're not interested in seeing anything else about that. Pause that.
I bounced the head a little bit.
They ask where Queenie is, which is a question that
they make it a race thing. The Black Warlock goes, "Oh, of course you left your Black Witch behind." And she's like, "Excuse me."
Yeah. And we see at that point, we knew Queenie was at the Hotel Cortez, but we see that she's actually gone and tried to get her out of the Hotel Cortez unsuccessfly, many attempts. And this is one of your favorite characters, possibly your favorite of the entire show. So do you want to take it and explain what we see here?
So James Patrick March is the one who killed Queenie, and they're playing. I think he's teaching her Jinn or whatever. Now you have to keep in mind everything that has gone down since Hotel. Pretty much everyone's dead or gone, except for the ghost. But he just seems
lonely,
bored. He's bored out of his mind. So he's like, all right, go ahead, try it. It's not like you can't, like, it's whatever.
And we kind of see like a montage of her like taking her hand and walking her out the door, and then she appears back where she was with March, and she takes her hand, she tries to walk her up. She's the fucking supreme, which she does say in this episode. So she feels like, oh, this is nothing. Like, I'm all powerful, all magical, and I should be able to just walk right out of here with her. But that's not the case. The Cortez is like heavy, dark, and has like a lot of stuff going on, and it's not going to be so easy.
She says it's a gate to hell.
Yes, a hellmouth.
Yes. In California, which has a connection to Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Nice.
So she can't. They try. And
so we see that Langdon is actually seeing all this stuff happening. He's kind of lurking. Yeah. Scrying, perhaps, doing some sort of magic vision thing, and he ends up drawing a little cool-ass drawing of the Hotel Cortez. Yet another hidden talent.
Yeah.
And he shows up, and he basically comes in and does exactly what she couldn't do, like, immediately.
But March knows something's up.
Yeah, he feels his vibe the second he walks in. He's kind of like, what are you? And no, you need to go with this guy. Believe him. This is gonna work out for you.
And then, so they walk out, Queenie and him, and he goes, oh, well, solitaire it is. And it's the saddest thing ever. You would never think you would feel bad for this guy, because he is a maniac. But
poor little cutie.
Yeah, I definitely feel for him. He's got nobody there until Halloween, when all of his dinner guests come. But maybe this is a signal that Halloween wasn't close. Oh, wait, we're on a flashback. Never mind.
Yeah.
Time's irrelevant.
It said 3 years earlier, but it wasn't like 3 years and 6 months. So you're assuming it's pretty closely.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he would be in better spirits if that was the spirits.
But not only does Langdon do what she couldn't successfully do, he then goes and we see Madison's like own personal hell that she's stuck in after she's murdered by Kyle in the Coven season.
Yeah.
I think that's 3. And it's basically she's like working at a Bath and Body Works, like what appears to be a Bath and Body Works. And it's horrible for her, and she seems pretty aware of the situation that she's in. And, like, she's washed up here and nobody knows who she is, but they know her enough to be like, aren't you that person? And, oh, well, she's not famous. Like,
yeah. She's not Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. And it's miserable. It's particularly miserable for someone like her who is used to being the center of attention and living a glamorous life. And so Michael and Queenie roll up in there, and the second he's there, she's like, oh, you don't belong here. Like, just even the way he looks, you can tell he doesn't belong in her scenery, and he's talking to her in a way that no one else is. Mm-hmm. What'd you think of this?
I thought it was awesome. I thought what was cooler was how much Queenie still hates Madison, but Madison wants to be loved so bad.
Madison just was happy to see somebody who she knows, I think. But obviously they have history, and just because Madison's happy to see her doesn't mean that Queenie's happy to see Madison.
Madison's still thirsty, though. And
Queenie's still like, you should leave her here. She sucks. Like, she's a bitch. Like, don't even get her out. She doesn't deserve it. And so he then takes both of these lost witches and brings them back as like a power move, just to be like, oh, you don't believe I'm the alpha? Well, look what I did.
Yeah, and Cordelia faints.
Yeah, which is scary because again, she's like
Supreme,
a
and she's supposed
badass.
to be the visage of health. You know what I mean? So that could be like something saying.
Yeah, it almost like speaks to how we saw with her mother when she
Yeah.
was rising in power, she was losing health.
Mhm.
It makes you wonder if his rise in power is affecting that.
Oh,
But do you think that he's actually the alpha, or do you think that
No.
they're mistaking him for the
yes,
alpha?
I think he's yes, and that's why I think that he's playing him, because I feel like he knew. Like I feel like we're gonna learn more about his godmother or whatever we're gonna call her. We did skip over a little thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, we got to see a little bit inside of the.
Oh yeah. So here we're getting the backstory of how Madison fits into all this. And I thought it was pretty interesting because it kind of confirms that she's had her memory wiped and that she, or not Mallory.
Mallory.
My
Sorry, there's too many weird
apologies,
names.
Yeah, Mallory. Sorry. We see that her memory was indeed wiped, and that not only that, she's pretty powerful. Like she's kind of one-upping all the challenges that are
Oh yeah.
asked of her.
We get to see your. That's how your girl's introduced.
She's like my favorite actress on the show. I'm always really happy to see her.
So she's teaching everyone about how like transmuting, like changing things, and so she's using like the color of a rose as an example. It was white, now it's red, and so we see Mallory, and hers is blue. And then it starts to like the petals start to fall off, and Cordelia's there, and she's like, I don't know if she's that great. The petals are wilting.
Because Zoe told her like, oh, there's something special about this girl.
And then instead of changing color, they change physical properties entirely and become butterflies.
Yeah.
That become petals again. So definitely cool.
And they're giving us effects that aren't corny and work really well in that episode.
That reminded me more of like a practical magic kind of like. I know we just saw the trailer the other day,
but it sucks sometimes when you're watching a TV show and something happens. They try to go out of their means, and you're like, oh yeah, this is TV.
We were just talking about that with Doctor Who the other day, but we're happy to say the new episode of Doctor Who is cinematic and beautiful and really well written, and I cried for a character I knew for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you who.
But yeah, we'll be doing Space Time Rewind, but that show's also going to probably be done in blocks of several episodes, just so we have more to talk about at one time. So look out for that coming soon. Back to this. This was the best episode in the season from both of our opinions. I've seen kind of mixed reviews from people, but that's absurd to me. This was exciting. I loved the like dark Harry Potter vibe of the Warlock School.
It's almost like, what if this was Voldemort, like had the Harry Potter like bring in, where like everyone was happy. Oh, it's this guy. Oh, he's the promised one. Oh,
but he's a bad guy.
But he's the bad guy, yeah.
And obviously the history of buildings is really important on this show in general. So to see the history of the building that we're in was also really interesting. Oh, yeah. I thought they were giving us something really different. I haven't seen an episode of this show that felt quite like this one.
There's also that character who was late. I have a picture of him, but he's not that important yet. I don't think he might be important. He kind of reminded me of the dude. No, that can't be. I don't know. He's just this kid. He was late, and but the camera focused on. I'm gonna bring up a picture because like the camera like went in on him as if he's like a person. So I'm wondering if he's gonna have a conflict with.
It went in on him like he was a person.
Like he was a person of interest. Look at that. You know, like he's literally like in frame.
That literally looks like Tom Riddle.
Oh God. So yeah, I'm wondering more about this character. I hope he comes in, and it's cool if he does come back. I like that they didn't rush it. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't want them to. I want them to take their time.
I do think they're taking their time though, because I think they were like, this episode, okay, well, you know, all this stuff is going on and we killed everybody off and now the witches are here. So now let's take a step back and do some history. You know, like we're throwing a lot at you guys. Let's explain some stuff that happened in between. because there is a time jump, and even with this 3 years, it's kind of hard to tell exactly because it says 3 years ago from this, but we still don't know when this is in the timeline. So it's hard to say exactly what we're looking at here. And I'm just really interested. I've liked this season, and usually they're about 12 or 13 episodes, so we're about a third of the way into this season, and I'm still really digging it. Sometimes this show takes a turn, and it gets pretty divisive between like even me and Tom's opinions.
Oh yeah, like Roanoke, I did not like at first at all, but it's easily our favorite season.
That's my favorite season. Yeah. And then we have seasons, as we've discussed, that I like that Tom's doesn't really like, and that he likes that, you know, I didn't care for. And this one, we're pretty much on the same page. It's been great. We're really interested, and we're excited to see where it takes us.
I really want to know what Billy Eichner's up to. Like, what's his plan now? His whole plan was to find his wife. Or if he finds out she's still alive.
Found his
knife. Because it never showed
found
him.
His knife. Huh?
All right, well, we're going to go.
So, final thoughts? Anything?
I'm excited. I'm excited to explore some older seasons some more. I've heard some rumors through the grapevine that we're going to explore some other places, which I may have guessed.
And I think episode 6 is the one directed by Sarah Paulson, so we're going to get to talk about that next time, which I'm really looking forward to. And that'll be about the halfway point of the season, so.
I wonder if we're going to go back to Asylum at all.
No. I'm expecting
aliens.
I'm expecting big things in the next couple of weeks. I think they're going to start bringing out the big guns here for the midpoint of the show. All
right, Nichelle. We get it.
Nichelle knows what's up. Roanoke is the best, and Asylum was ass. Like my biggest problem with Asylum is it was just not focused at all, and that's my biggest fear for this season.
It's almost as if it was trying to portray some kind of weird mental state.
Yeah, but my biggest worry about this season, because they're trying to do so many things, is that it will feel disjointed. But in my opinion, I don't think it feels disjointed this season. It feels like they do have a plan and that they are focused, and I just hope that they stick to the plan and it doesn't fall apart last minute like something like Freak Show did, you know? Because I was sucked into Freak Show, and then it kind of like unraveled. I'm hoping that they can keep it tight because, once again, Roanoke had the best writing that they've done on the show so far, and I think that that's the foundation of the show being good.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about it in the car the other day, and I was saying like something like their pacing's odd, and it's cool that they adopt an anthology aspect of it and do something new every year up until now. Well, there's still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing is, they have to set up so much, and then at the end is when all the action can happen because they took so long setting up. Roanoke, because it was a documentary style, was able to balance that, and I think we're getting the same thing here with this season because we've seen the Covent House, we've seen, there's familiar elements that we don't have to get explained up on everything. We know who Langdon is.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to catch up on some of his life, but we know what he's capable of just by reputation.
I thought Hotel was focused as well, and I really liked that season a lot. Cult, not as much. I thought that one got a little bit messy with what they were trying to do. It had a great ending. But hopefully this one can knock it out of the park and keep us interested and have a great ending, like Roanoke, which was good. But I think that's about it for us today.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for coming by, and if you're watching this after the live recording, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or notes on things you'd like us to talk about on the show in the future, put them in the comments.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We never get comments. Give us some comments. Let's see, what else? So we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about episodes 5 and 6.
And we'll be back in 1 week on this channel doing a horror episode of our main show, Odd Shaped Panel. And so if you guys like American Horror Story, that might be something you guys are interested in. And we hope to see some of you there. And I think that's about it.
Then Halloween party.
Yeah, we have a Halloween party on the 29th. We do a costume party show annually. This is our third one.
Oh, wow.
And I'm looking forward to that as well, where we discuss Halloween episodes of TV and movies that have scenes in Halloween. And this show is perfect for that because they have great Halloween episodes.
So, I mean, in a few years, we can do a horror episode just based on our old horror episodes,
We could.
following the movie format of Halloween.
All right, guys. On that note,
Predator.
on that note, thank you very much, Ashley. I see you in the chat. I'm excited that you'll be there. And
thank you, Cal, for welcoming everyone to the show at the end of the show.
We appreciate you. Don't listen to Tom. And we will see you guys next time. Stay spooky.
Go see A Star Is Born. She's still born. Bye. No, she's not stillborn. She's